It was good, family. We back with our reaction to Speech's Nigga Factory. This is part two of our reaction. The first one, you guys gave us some amazing feedback. It seems like you were anticipating part two.
Here, part two. Let's go.
Op-ed piece for the New York Times. He had caught wind of an Instagram picture that I put up, and it ended up going viral. Being an artist, I know that there are truths and there are hard truths. There are times you have to speak hard truths for the sake of true advancement, and it may take a while for people to really accept it, but you still have to speak it. In episode 1, I already covered how expansive the racism is. This propaganda was taught for centuries and normalized. The 45th president's views aren't new. Instead, it's just a continuation. In fact, now the factory has thoroughly infiltrated the most influential and powerful medium Black and brown people have created in recent years. Hip-hop.
Now, you refer to hip-hop as a modern-day minstrel show.
Yeah, so I think there's a way in which hip-hop has been used, a particular type of hip-hop, to promote a particular image of blackness over and above others, where there's a certain type of behavior that is rewarded by the mainstream predominantly white society. So you can rap about murdering niggas, you can rap about materialism, and then all black people will be blamed for that conduct. But then if you question those things, so for example, when Dead President's album, Let's Get Free came out, from my understanding, they put a sticker over the cover, right? Because they didn't want to show kids with guns in Soweto rising up against apartheid. Or when Mos Def makes a song called The Rape's Over and talks about corporate control of hip hop and calls that kind of stuff out, the song's taken off his album without his notice. So to me, there's this American racism has always been and must necessarily always be underpinned by controlling the image of blackness, by creating a one-dimensional image. That's not that there are none of these behaviors in the black community, but where there are exceptional behaviors, they're never blamed on blackness. So I think there's a certain degree of negative, stereotypical images of blackness that have been promoted and elevated within hip-hop. And it's only...
All right, cool. So I got to ask this question. So this gentleman's perspective is it perpetuates because it's solely for the entertainment of the white audience. My question would be, where does the artist's responsibility start? They can say no.
Yeah, you can say no, but then you know what happens to your money. Let's be real.
They can say no.
That's true. They can say no, but will they? We all know what people value in this country. Sad to say, but we all know what they value in this country.
But what's the other alternative? The other alternative is a white man doing blackface. You can't do that no more. You get canceled. They can say no. They can say, you know what? I'm not talking about selling drugs no more because that shit's whack. I'm not talking about popping mollies no more because that shit is whack. They can say, I refuse to have naked women in my video. I'm not using the B word. The artist has their share of responsibility.
I get what you're saying, but you know, at the same time, it's deeper than that, because a lot of these record contracts, you know, the way they're structured is that the artist comes in and they're off the rip, they're indebted to their record label. They're in a hole from the jump. The way these contracts are structured, you know, they get these big advances and, you know, the pressure is on them to recoup that money. So you do what sells, or, you know, you fail. And nobody wants to start over, because a lot of times, once you're considered a failure, there are no second chances, because you don't want to quote unquote play the game. Am I tripping? Is that like, I mean, I feel like that's pretty standard, you know?
I do agree with that. They do have to succumb to the ideology of masters, right? Of the people who they're beholden to contractually. But I still would say this, let's be honest. American culture is our culture. We create the music, we create the fads, we make shit cool. If we all were to be on one accord, be like, no, we're not doing that, or the majority of us were to be on one accord and be like, no, that's not it, then that would place some of the power back in the artist's hands to where they get more creative control of what they release. What you guys think?
Okay, hear me out though. But let me say this. As foul as this is going to sound to say, and I'm talking to all of y'all, the culture has gotten to a point where the money dictates what the culture is. Challenge me on that. Am I wrong? Because if that was not the case, there would be more positivity. You know, there's plenty of talented rappers who can give positive messages and do it, you know, with skill, but that doesn't sell. Is it truly that doesn't sell, or that, you know, that's not what's being pushed? And what is pushed is what is sold, and that's what makes the money. So, you know, if I'm wrong, tell me below, but I'm not.
Hey, I want this conversation to continue in the comments. What y'all think? I vehemently disagree with this gentleman over here. I think
Ooh, we serious vehemently. I can't even
That's a
say that
strong
word. I can't even say that word.
that's a strong word right there. That means I mean it, people. I disagree. So who y'all side with on this one? Let us know.
When you travel the world, I think even for a lot of Black Americans, I don't know if there's
80% of the mainstream releases have been about trap houses, guns, bricks, gross materialism, strip clubs, hoes, pimps, criminals. It's long overdue for some analyzation of it all. The lowering of our moral frequencies and energies, the perversion of ourselves and worldview, raising new generations of beautiful children on low denominator and stereotypical images and lyrics. The world is watching, and my group for 30 years has been at the forefront of fighting this. And I've seen a lot, and I know there's always room for growth in any artist. Someone made a meme that crossed my timeline using the picture of numerous industry folks and rappers toasting at a pre-Grammy party. They included in a meme a caption about these men perpetuating negative images. I knew they weren't literally talking about these particular men, but more so a general statement. So I then reposted that image because it had many highly celebrated and very wealthy moguls within it. I added my thoughts about these types of successes, who've many times used these negative topics as a catapult to their success, and that they're being congratulated by a white supremacist agenda that has wreaked utter havoc on our world.
One thing he said there, that it's being congratulated by a white supremacist agenda. Is that what he said exactly? I forgot that fact.
You're paraphrasing. It's good though. It's fine.
Yeah, but you know, anyway, I saw the image of Trump, you know, and I don't really understand how you can just use that image and associate him with white supremacy, and then at the same time, you know, basically claim that it's systemic. You see what I'm saying? Because like that leads you to a scapegoat. Like if you really want to put an image of someone with that statement, like you need to be putting record label execs. You know what I'm saying? Don't put a picture of Trump. I could be wrong.
Right.
I'm not defending him, but does Trump own a record label I don't know about? Somebody tell me. Does he have like a private stake in a record label I don't know about? Is Trump Records kicking Mad Flavor in your ear? Tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And on this, there's a clip of Charlemagne.
That ain't my guy. It's Charlemagne. Man. And Charlemagne, the God. And Charlemagne Magang. Charlemagne. I don't think I'll never be able to say that right now.
Interviewing this one of the key figures in the music industry.
Kid wasn't cool. Now they seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup, and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
But I'm saying that's hypocritical, though. You're saying
it's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed.
This guy's just simply said, "I got a family to feed."
That's it. It's the money. So, for you all in the audience, would you do it? Somebody came with $1 million bag, and all you had to do, you know, was rap about bitches, hoes, and guns. Are you doing it?
I'm gonna give y'all the first response. Honestly, in my 20s, coming from where I come from, without having any better guidance, absolutely. If you gave me a check to do what I was already doing, of course.
There you go. Yeah.
Of course I would, right?
And that honesty is to be appreciated. But what would you do? Tell me something different. And if you won't do it, what's the alternative? That's what I want to know. Don't just tell me, no, I won't do it. Tell me, what would you do instead of that?
I know what they're going to do. They're going to get that bag.
He ain't got no faith in y'all. I do.
None. Because y'all just like me. We all the same people.
What I thought was just another simple speech post got reposted. And from there, it went viral. Viral! To me, knowing how enamored the masses could be towards the rich and famous, it was imperative that someone put quote-unquote success into perspective. We still have women and young girls who are passionate rap fans that are called bitches and hoes on almost every record. Our little boys and little girls soaking it all in. Drugs, violence, and bitches.
Bad. Cooking up dope with a Uzi.
My bitch is bad.
That little bitch, you can fuck with me.
And this has been going on for decades.
Boss, you a worker, bitch.
Hey, what was the comedian? I can't remember which stand-up it was. I think it was Chris Rock.
If the beats are right, she will dance all night. Women don't give a fuck. The nastier, the better. I see girls on the floor dancing to the nastiest shit ever made. Love rap music, tired of defending it, man.
It's amazing to me, like you said, though, and back in the first part of this, the power of that rhythm and the music. Like, they don't even think about it. They heard that boom, 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 and they just run to the dance floor.
Booties get to wobbling.
Hey,
I used to love it when I was young. That was my favorite part of the other night.
I still ain't mad at it. I look, but I don't touch.
Shit but hoes and tricks.
It appears to me that most have simply embraced it.
Ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Lick on these nuts and suck the dick.
I have a beautiful daughter. I have nieces. I have young aspiring girls at my wife and I's Fayetteville, Georgia art school. It's a sad thing for this degradation to be happening. Even at times it's just happening in the hood, but it goes to being satanic when this degradation is mass produced by the entertainment industry for the whole world to digest. The degradation of women, the glorification of violence and drugs has been going on for a long time, but today it's normalized. With full support by multi-billion-dollar corporations and brands who sponsor these artists in commercials and concerts and advertisements on radio stations across the entire nation. It's now as American as apple pie. Some will say that these negative stereotypes simply started in the hood, and this music is just being honest, a simple reflection of that life. I personally disagree. I believe these stereotypes.
Man, no, I'm gonna call Cap right there. First of all, he said a lot of artists claim that this is just their lifestyle. They were already doing this stuff, right? First of all,
we know you lying. We know you lying.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
What he said. Say less. Exactly.
Type started during slavery, but it's one thing to have this narrative pushed by white supremacist ideology during slavery. It's another to have it continuously perpetuated within the mainstream by black and brown artists using the powerful genre of hip-hop.
Hip-hop is based on keeping it real, keeping it 100. Yeah. Most people don't vet the artist that they are idolizing, and they assume because you say it, you are it. Guys in this very room, he was rapping about going to the penitentiary and being all this. I said, wait a minute, I've been knowing you for the past 10 years. Why'd you go to the pen? Quote unquote. I ain't been to the pen yet.
Exactly.
Huh? It was like it was a badge of honor for him to go to the
Hey. Did y'all hear that? My man said, I ain't been to the pen yet. You talk about having goals to aspire to. Don't worry. I'm going to get there eventually.
I can't wait.
If I say my prayers and take my vitamins, I'll be doing 10 to 20 before you know it.
pen. And eventually he did go to the pen, got 25 years to life. But, you know, when you have been doing this thing as long as I have and see the effects of it, and you know the players in the game that really went from it, it's kind of hard for me. When I know the players and the game, how the game has been affected by this, it kind of, we could have did without some of that, some of it.
Landmark moments in hip-hop history literally changed the pop culture landscape because of the music's sheer popularity and its reach, which was unprecedented. Dope Man, a hit song in 1988. It's even sampled in more recent hits. And as a caveat, I'm a fan of this music, but I'm also accustomed to compartmentalizing my brain. And to some extent, we're all absorbing it. From little kids to young adults, we're teaching them. And it's
Over by slang and cane.
Could that be the first popular?
Hey, operative word from what Speech said: compartmentalize. This is just entertainment. It's not real life.
Hip hop example where the dope man is the hero of the narrative, and these are popular songs. Many laws were passed at this time across our nation. It severely punished the user of crack far more than users of powder cocaine. And many black people went to prison as a direct result. Illegal Business by Boogie Down Production. It was also a hot song released in 1988, which talked about drugs, but KRS-One didn't glamorize the drug dealer. Instead, he talked about the hypocrisy of the government and the corrupt police playing both sides of the fence.
Cocaine business controls America. Ganja business controls America. KRS-One comes to start some hysteria. Illegal business controls America. Have you forgotten that once we were brought here with...
You see Pookie?
Yeah.
He's calling me.
He was smoking. He's huh?
Hey, but for real. Y'all young pups out there, please listen to some KRS-One. He don't get his just due. He really don't. Yeah. Listen to
Facts.
Chris. Chris know what he's talking about.
Facts.
We were robbed of our name, robbed of our language.
Public Enemy's Night of the Living Bassheads dropped the same year.
And many of us, by the way we act, we even lost our mind.
But Chuck D denounced the neighborhood drug dealer, saying,
Shame on a brother when they dealing. The same block where my 98 be wheeling. And everybody know another kilo. From a corner from a brother, keep another below.
The good news about this era of hip-hop was that we as fans got different points of view. Artists were allowed to give totally different narratives about the same topic. Yet, over time, the narrative of drug dealers being cool and users being fools seemed to win the culture war. As Chuck D would later say in Public Enemy's 2007 Harder Than You Think,
Screaming gangster 20 years later. Of course it does what consciousness faded.
but how did our consciousness fade? When did the drug dealer, which used to be a scourge in the hood, become such a common and accepted character? Could it have been when one of the most celebrated and brilliant rhymers taught the world the 10 crack commandments?
Man can't tell me nothing about this code.
Ready to Die album, 1994,
Crack, this weed.
where rhymes literally describe how to be a better drug dealer.
Niggas on the corner, I ain't forget you.
Whatever way the drug dealer became accepted, by the time 1996's Reasonable Doubt got hot, the Dope Boy seemed to be hip-hop's newest hero.
Hey, that's a classic album, by the way. You can
It
play
is what it
Reasonable
is.
Doubt straight through. But I will say this though, that's our era. We were kids when these records were dropped, right? And I'm not going front. The only inspiration it gave me and my friends were to emulate the lyrics, and we wanted to be the biggest dope dealers on the East Coast. That was due to the picture of
What you were
success
exposed to over and over again as success.
that was painted to us
Yeah.
via the music that we were listening to.
And just to piggyback off that and what Speech was saying, it's weird now to me especially because as someone who's pushing 40, it's odd to see because he was talking about how the drug dealer somehow became idolized. currently it's almost as if like the junkie, the drug user is being idolized to a certain degree. Like when I was growing up, like being a drug user, like you were the sucker, you were the fool. But now you got people talking about popping Molly.
Pop the Molly, I'm sweating.
Doing this, like it's really the wave, you know? And y'all really don't know what y'all put in your body, man. Like, am I just an old head, or like what part of the game is that, you know?
That's the Pookie game. That's what that is.
Yeah. I'm gonna call y'all Pookies from now on.
Huh?
Huh?
The 9 to 5. And
Ho. You know what? I'm seeing where my brother coming from right now, because I just read them lyrics. I feel some kind of way. My man is basically just clowning me for having a job. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
You know what?
Working is for the lame.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sell some crack and be a real hero.
That sounds good until you get that 10 to 20. You know what I'm saying? Until they bring you that Happy Meal.
That's funny.
To snitch on your homeboy.
Because when they get that 10 to 20, the ones supporting them are those with a 9 to 5.
Hey, we can't make this up, man. It's just, it is what it is.
as with all change, it's a process. The drug dealer became romanticized within the music as the best thing for blacks outside of sports and rapping. And sure, some lyrics also showed downsides, but the upsides were glorified. The new, legitimate but illegitimate businessman, deeply defiant to the consequences of the community at large and to the law. It didn't help that numerous reports connected our own government via the CIA, offered the Contra drug smugglers support and protection.
Freeway Ricky Ross is a street legend, one of the biggest drug dealers in Los Angeles history.
What role did the U.S. government play to poor black?
The government needed this money to fight this war over Nicaragua against the Sandinistas. Russia had gave the Sandinistas $100 million to fight with. Congress had cut off all the money from the Contras. So now the Sandinistas had an advantage. Reagan and Bush had made the Contras their pet peeve. They felt that if Russia took over Nicaragua, they would be too close to America. They would be in our backyard. I believe that they felt it was more valuable to sacrifice a particular sector of America. They let these guys open up pipelines.
So there you have it. It goes even deeper than this. Join me for the last and most powerful episode of The Nigga Factory. This time we're gonna go all the way up the ladder to who's in control, what we could do about it, in ways that all of us, activists and non-activists, can help out. In the meantime, push the subscribe button, share.
Now, I want y'all to take note that Speech just said when we get into part 3, he was going to drop some names and go all the way to the top of the ladder and expose who was really in charge. Guess what?
But sir, what happened to part 3?
What happened to part 3? We never got it. This was, mind you, this was 4 or 5 years ago. Excuse me. Where is that? So I hope this video goes viral. And if it does, I want everyone to @Speech in the comments and ask the question, where's part 3? We want to see it. We want to know who's on the top of that food chain and what happened.
Matter of fact, did any of y'all know? Tell me, Speech, are you watching? Blink twice if you okay. Before we end this, just, you know, a little info. For any of y'all who might be fans of the show Snowfall, Rick Ross, you might notice, you know, a lot of similarities between that show and what he just addressed as far as, you know, the Sandinistas in Nicaragua and, you know, the cocaine pipeline and so forth. So, you know, if y'all really a fan of that show, you want to do a little research, you know, that might be a little fun little project for y'all, you know. Let me know if I'm missing something, but that was just a little concise.
And it's just a great show to watch in general. Snowfall, all 6 seasons,
really
is dope.
Really
it's
is.
Dope. You see what I did there? It's really dope. Hey, that's been part 2, family. Hey, thank y'all for kicking it with us once again, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
We appreciate y'all. Peace.